Just as the company was getting on track, the female president was framed by the management team, including the vice president, and fired from a company. I couldn't stand still seeing her, whom I greatly respect, looking so disappointed. We started the business together, and were about to mark 1 year since we began from scratch when we learned that our previous company was on the verge of bankruptcy.
Who are you exactly?
It's no surprise you don't know. I've been careful to keep it a secret from you alone. Because My name is David Miller. Currently, I work as a programmer for a company that has launched an app. I started as a contractor and am not yet a full-time employee, so I haven't fully settled into this company.
David, could you come here for a sec?
Yes, what is it?
There's something I'm curious about. Could you check it out for me?
Sure, I'm on it. Emily is the president of the app company where I work. She is quite beautiful, almost as beautiful as an actress. However, she's strict with herself and others. You can't do this, can't you use your head a bit more? Or you're really useless, are the kind of sharp words I've seen her use. But, given her position as the president, I think it's natural for her to tighten up slack employees and correct the atmosphere. Still, being a female president, some male employees didn't like her intense way of speaking. I've heard male employees grumbling outdated complaints like, "Don't get cocky just because you're a woman." The fact remains that there are still employees who resent being talked down to by a female boss. I've sensed an atmosphere where being reprimanded by a beautiful woman is even more annoying. I was a bit impressed that being good-looking can sometimes work against her. There's another female executive in this app development company, Jessica, who's practically the president in terms of power, though her official title is the vice president. It turns out Emily and Jessica attended the same prestigious private university. These two alumni were classmates and hit it off in university, always sticking together since meeting. Compared to the actress like Emily, Jessica may lack in glamour. But it seems Jessica's physique is overwhelmingly more popular with men.
Our company has two great women, Emily and Jessica.
Indeed.
Which one do you prefer?
Well, that's a tough call.
I've debated in my mind about who's more attractive.
You must have a lot of free time.
I won't deny that, but hear me out.
What is it then?
As a result of my internal debate, I gave the edge to Emily.
Emily is certainly beautiful, but isn't her personality a bit harsh?
That might be true, but her face is just my type.
I prefer Jessica, man. She could be a bikini model.
I've heard conversations like this several times. In addition, Jessica tends to be more gentle with employees than Emily. Generally, people gravitate towards those who treat them kindly. No one wants to deal with harsh words unnecessarily. But probably, the two have their roles set, and they were just fulfilling them. I vaguely remember overhearing parts of their conversations.
We can't be taken lightly just because we're two women in charge as the president and vice president.
I distinctly remember these words from a conversation between Emily and Jessica. Emily is the president and Jessica is the vice president, apparently because Emily invited Jessica to start the business together. Emily became president simply because she initiated the idea, but their abilities are almost the same. The two, who were close enough to start a business together, have been at odds recently. I don't know the details. However, there was a pervasive atmosphere in the office suggesting that the two were on the verge of a fallout. I've never actually seen them arguing. But conversations among employees inevitably reach my ears.
Hey, have you heard that Emily and Jessica are both in a bad mood lately?
I've heard such talk, but I don't know the real situation.
I've never seen the two of them actually going at it either.
Right? There are rumors, but nothing direct.
But a junior employee saw them arguing in front of a taxi.
I've heard before that they had arguments.
But in the end, that was just a rumor, right?
True, I've never actually seen them fighting.
My junior wouldn't just make up a lie to tell me.
That's true, but it's worrying to hear these rumors of fights more frequently now.
Yeah. It would be better if they got along well.
I've overheard such conversations among colleagues while eating pasta in the cafeteria. Lately, there have been frequent talks about Emily and Jessica clashing, so it might be true. Just when I was thinking this, Emily called me to discuss some ideas for a new app development. She said, "Whenever you're free," so I went to the president's office after finishing my lunch. Emily usually spends a lot of time in her office, working on ideas or on her computer. So I expected her to be there, doing her usual work. But I encountered something completely unexpected. Just as I was about to knock on the door to the president's office, I heard Jessica's yelling like I'd never heard before. The voice was loud enough to hear through the door. Then I noticed the door was slightly ajar, just a few centimeters. I decided to continue eavesdropping discreetly, making sure not to be noticed. After all, I had finally caught the tail end of the rumors, and I couldn't let this opportunity slip away.
I've told you already, you are no longer needed in this company.
What's going on? I don't understand what you're saying.
Didn't I just say? You're fired.
That makes no sense. What do you mean?
You used to be praised for your intelligence, but now you can't grasp such a simple matter? You've really gone downhill.
That's because it's nonsensical, so of course I can't understand.
All right, I'll say it again, listen carefully. You've been leaking company information, haven't you?
I really don't know what you're talking about.
I don't want to suspect you of such a thing, but there are records and evidence.
Show me that evidence.
Jessica sighed deeply, her voice slightly strained as she resumed speaking.
Anyway, your dismissal can't be reversed.
What do you mean?
Because you're no longer the managing director.
That can't just be decided by you alone.
You missed the extraordinary shareholders meeting because you had other important commitments, right?
Yes, what about it? Don't tell me.
At that meeting, your role as the managing director was terminated, so now I'm the sole director.
Emily was speechless, stunned by the reality, and seemed unable to speak for a while. The silence was piercing. I wondered what expression Jessica was wearing now. Emily finally managed to say,
No matter what I do, you won't listen to me.
That's what I've been saying from the start. Your dismissal is irrevocable.
What a thing to happen.
Jessica declared loudly, with a slight sneer in her voice as if she had been waiting for Emily's spirit to break.
There's no place for you in the company anymore. Your dismissal will be communicated to everyone in the company by the end of today.
Phew.
Just grab your belongings and leave as soon as possible.
I will.
Why don't you get some comfort from William? You're dating him, aren't you?
How do you know that?
Actually, William is my man now.
What's that supposed to mean?
You really haven't noticed, have you? He's so into me now, he won't go back to you.
Jessica said triumphantly, laughing mockingly.
Call William if you want, though he might not answer your calls.
After a while, I couldn't hear their voices anymore, and I strained my ears to listen. What was happening? Why were they both silent? As I stood there pondering in front of the door, it suddenly opened from the inside, and Emily, pale-faced, noticed me. I was caught off guard, not expecting the conversation to end and her to come out so suddenly. I turned to leave quickly. But Emily grabbed my right arm and looked at me sadly. I nodded slightly, making sure Jessica wouldn't notice. Then, I took Emily's arm and led her to my car, where no other employees were around. I sat in the driver's seat, and Emily sat in the back. Her face in the rearview mirror looked lifeless, like a shell of her former self. I doubted if anything I said would help, but I had to speak. "I accidentally overheard your conversation," I said, looking at Emily's downcast face in the mirror. Not saying anything further, Emily, puzzled, finally looked up, and our eyes met in the mirror. That's when I said, "I want to help you, Emily." After hearing that conversation, I just had to do something. In the end, Emily left the company, just as the vice president Jessica had planned. Honestly, I wanted to expose Jessica's lies and actions. But Emily didn't want to waste any more time on the company. They had started the company as close friends from university and led it to significant success. Being ousted from a company in such an unfair manner and having her boyfriend taken away was devastating. It wouldn't be surprising if she remained down and unable to recover for months or even years. If it were me, I'd be out of action for at least 3 months. But all my worries were unfounded for her.
There's no way I'd be crushed by something like this.
For a normal person, this would be a situation that could knock them down for a while.
That's for ordinary people, right? I'm not ordinary.
Indeed, you're as beautiful as an actress, so you're not ordinary.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I know, that was a joke.
I realize that, David. You're trying to lighten the mood.
Just please accept it honestly. Despite this banter, I was pleased to see Emily becoming lively enough to joke around in such a short time. I quit my job as a contract programmer. I just can't find the motivation to work in a place where Emily is not around. Leaving was already in my plans. I hadn't decided what to do next. However, when Emily asked if I wanted to start a business together, my decision was made instantly. Of course, having said I'd follow Emily, I was indeed ready to go wherever she went. But even I was surprised we started moving on it in just 2 weeks after leaving the previous company. "Emily, it seems you worked really hard at the previous company.
So what?
Shouldn't you take a break? Maybe go on a vacation?"
What are you talking about? I'm not so defeated that I'll just sit silently and look down after being unjustly beaten down.
Strike while the iron is hot.
You get it.
And so, we embarked on a new business venture together. We both became the executive directors of our new company, with Emily as the president and me as the vice president. My title didn't matter to me. I just strongly wanted Emily to make a comeback as the president. So I was happy to be working with her again.
I want to hit it big with an app that leverages all my experience and knowledge.
Indeed, the experiences you've had become part of your essence.
Yes, it might overlap with popular apps in the market, but we'll add our own twist.
Right. Originality is all about how you combine different ideas.
That's right. Then we'll turn my ideas into an app with David's expertise.
I'll do my best to meet your expectations. Emily loved to cook and was quite skilled at it. She didn't hate instant or junk food, though. Being a busy president, she often settled for pizza or burgers due to lack of time. However, I've heard her say, "Cooking on my day off blows away the stress." Emily was interested in a recipe app. There are already many apps out there that offer simple recipes for delicious meals in a short time. Isn't entering this app market now a bit challenging? I couldn't help but ask, but Emily was determined. So, I dedicated myself to figuring out how to encapsulate her ideas into an app. We spent an incredible amount of time making the recipes user-friendly, adjusting the layout, and ensuring users could easily and intuitively upload photos of their dishes. We even made it possible for recipe creators to easily produce cooking videos. We thoroughly researched existing recipe apps and brought Emily's challenging ideas to life with my programming skills. Our recipe app initially struggled in a crowded market. The download numbers were not growing, and we were both worried over coffee. But gradually, the strengths of our app became known, and it even reached #1 in the recipe app rankings at one point. Breaking through in such a market is tough because well-known apps have a strong advantage. Even if other apps have similar or better features, people tend to use the ones they know. Once we broke through, the potential for further success opened up. When our app reached #1 in the rankings, we celebrated with a modest meal. That meant ordering some upscale pizza and drinking beer at the office.
Has it been half a year since we left that company? We've made good progress, haven't we?
I think we've both worked really hard.
Yeah. I feel like I've thought of nothing but the app for the past 6 months.
My mind was full of figuring out how to implement those ideas. Emily and I shared a contented smile and toasted with new cans of beer. About 8 months had passed since Emily and I left the company and started our own. The download numbers for our app had stabilized, and we were receiving increasing feedback about its high quality. This, in turn, led to more downloads and paying users. Just as we were confident of more success, Emily came to me with a look of urgency. "What's going on? It's 2 a.m. I said, awakened by persistent buzzing from the intercom, obviously frustrated. Emily, unconcerned about my mood, thrust her smartphone in front of me and said, "Look at this.
This looks just like our app, doesn't it?
The format is indeed strikingly similar."
That's not all.
Emily then explained how the app on her phone closely resembled the one we created. "Isn't this a copyright infringement?"
It's designed right on the edge, barely avoiding copyright violation.
But still, the concept and content look the same.
Yes, exactly. Which company is behind this?
Emily suddenly fell silent, and I immediately understood. It was the company Jessica runs, the one we left. Taking advantage of our small company size, Jessica must be planning to crush us by capitalizing on our app idea. Why is Jessica going so hard against you? They used to be close friends.
I don't know, but
Emily hesitated to continue. Just say it. You seem to have an idea of the cause. She started to speak in a low voice.
Jessica began to develop a complex towards me, feeling angry that no matter how hard she tried, she could never surpass me.
Did Jessica tell you that directly?
Not directly, but William, the guy she took from me.
So, he didn't know Jessica well at that time.
Probably. If she had been plotting against me since then, I can only take my hat off to her.
Jessica's company's app was ranking higher than the one Emily and I made. Looking into it, they had spent a significant amount on advertising. Since the app was alright payoff of my work, I understood why it quickly became popular once it was known.
We can't win this. The difference in capital is too much.
Emily, with a resigned expression and tears welling up in her eyes, told me.
Continuing to update the same app will only lead to it being stolen in the end.
Eventually, tears streamed down her face, and she collapsed to her knees. I knelt down with her, took her hands, and looked straight into her eyes, saying, "It's okay, Emily, can you leave everything to me?" Since the discovery of the app plagiarism, I had completely overhauled our app. I used advanced programming techniques to ensure that even if Jessica's company tried, they couldn't replicate our work. While keeping the interface the same, I improved usability, startup time, and graphics resolution, pouring in the best of my abilities. Thanks to these improvements, our app's user ratings soared within days, and Jessica's company, which copied our app, received a flood of complaints. Their app, being too similar to ours, was mistaken for ours and criticized for slow startup times and poor graphics. Eventually, Jessica's company was overwhelmed with complaints, and it was even suggested that they bring out their programmer to fix things faster, implying a desire for my expertise. In her humiliation, Jessica herself must have called me. Naturally, I hung up immediately. When Emily heard about the rapid and impressive updates to our app and Jessica's situation, she asked,
"Were you always this amazing?"
Then, I revealed to Emily that we had actually met a long time ago. We first encountered each other during my middle school days. Not in a romantic context, but when Emily was a student teacher doing her practicum at my school. At that time, I was living aimlessly, without any motivation or passion. I was just living because the days kept coming, feeling a sense of void in the meaningless routine. During that time, Emily, who was a student teacher, taught us programming. It was a middle school beginner's course, but I was more captivated by Emily's beauty than the subject itself. Enticed by her, I paid attention to the programming lessons and tried it out as instructed. After practicing a bit, I realized that learning programming allowed me to create my own worldview. If I assembled the programming language correctly, it executed tasks like magic. That's when I became hooked on programming. I dragged out an old computer at home and started learning from the very basics on my own. As a middle schooler, I watched programming tutorials online, bought textbooks, and went through trial and error repeatedly. With each programming session, I definitely felt an improvement, gaining a sense of fulfillment that was vastly different from the monotonous daily life I had been leading. For that alone, I am deeply grateful to Emily for teaching me programming. Since high school, I competed in prestigious programming contests, winning numerous grand prizes.
We get it. You're amazing. So please just stop showing up.
As I frequented these competitions, familiar faces became common. The top programmers, naturally, ranked high, so it was inevitable that my name became well known. I kept coming out on top in the competitions over and over. The competitors who came close but couldn't beat me probably saw me as a thorn in their side. Cut it out, don't blame me for your lack of skills. I dismissed those comments as pure envy and continued competing in the contests, winning grand prizes until I was satisfied. Because I kept winning, some people viewed me with jealousy and hostility, but the majority recognized me as an exceptionally talented programmer. Achievements don't lie. Ever since middle school, when I first got interested in programming, I've been determined to beat anyone in my path. I pride myself on that effort. I'm truly a wizard of programming. There was no way I wouldn't help Emily, the one who introduced me to programming. That's why I immediately applied when Emily's company was looking for programmers. I wanted to be there for her. I've always wanted to express my gratitude to her. It's understandable she didn't recognize me. I had changed a lot since middle school, with a vastly different appearance and hairstyle. I finally feel like I've been able to repay you, I said, feeling embarrassed and looking away from her gaze.
Come to think of it, I vaguely remember a kid whose bangs were so long they covered his eyes. Yet he easily mastered complex programming tasks.
That was definitely me. Back in middle school, I felt uneasy unless my eyes were hidden behind my bangs.
Hearing that is quite sentimental. It was my teaching that led you to programming.
That's right. You better be prepared, because I'm going to follow you as long as this world keeps turning. Contrary to Emily's and my success, Jessica's company couldn't find competent programmers and gradually spiraled downward. Essentially, Emily's leadership and my technical skills had been the backbone of the company, and without us, it was doomed. And that became reality, as Jessica's company eventually was driven to bankruptcy. Meanwhile, Emily and I steadily grew our team and expanded the company's size. Correspondingly, our relationship also heated up, and now we are inseparable, both at work and in private. The one thing I want to say is that love is a powerful force,